Now, there is a discussion happening right now about whether Annastacia Palaszczuk will be at odds with her deputy. You see, her deputy last week went out of his way to say that one of the greatest COVID dangers to Australia are people who leave Australia, go overseas and then come back. But magically, Queen Palaszczuk thinks these rules shouldn't apply to her. You see, she has to go to Tokyo to get the Olympics for Brisbane in 2032.
My question to you, Premier, is do you think it is appropriate for politicians like yourself to keep making trips overseas at a time when there is no pathway for Australians to be reunited with their own families?
The reason that I would be going to Tokyo is to actually help secure the Olympics 2032 for Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. This is a very important meeting, and it is expected by the International Olympic Committee that a federal representative, the Premier and the Lord Mayor of Brisbane attend to present in front of the International Olympic Committee.
But apparently it's more important than you being able to see a dying relative, or your kids being able to visit you in the final days of your life. Remember, of course, she loves having a system for herself that others don't have to apply to. Remember, there's limits on the types of vaccines that you're able to get if you're a certain age. But she's the Premier and she's going to the Olympics, so she can have Pfizer.
I may be required to travel to Tokyo with the Lord Mayor and maybe the Prime Minister. There may be a requirement for the state to present to the whole Olympics Committee about the Olympics, and I would have been unvaccinated, and that is why I had the Pfizer.
What about stopping COVID? Matt Canavan is a national senator from Queensland, part of the LNP, joining us now from Rocky. Sam Crosby, Labor to his bootstraps, and I'm always pleased to say joining us from lockdown Sydney as well. Matt, let's start with you. Should the Premier be allowed to leave the country to go and secure the Olympics in 2032?
Well, in short, yes. I've got no problem with her going, Paul. I have a problem with her hypocrisy, though.
That's the point.
And the complete embarrassment that she has become as Premier over particularly these last few weeks. It's been a shocking few weeks for the Queensland Government. They've undermined the vaccination rollout. They've stuffed up in their own health system and quarantine system. And now they can't seem to lie straight just about simple issues here. Even this whole pantomime about is she going or isn't she? Is that why she's getting Pfizer? Just tell us. And I've got no problem. If she needs to go and we need to try and do that to help secure the Olympics for Queensland, great. I'd love to see the Olympics come here. We need to try and do that. But let's get over all this COVID rubbish, right? Why have we cut back our international arrivals by half last week? That's what I was against. And this hypocrisy here. We should be moving forward here. We should be getting rid of restraints and barriers. No Australian has died from COVID this year. We've got to stop becoming so panicked about this. Get on the pathway of learning to live with it. More and more Australians are getting vaccinated. 70% of older Australians are vaccinated. There is no reason why we should not have the capacity to have more Australians reunite with each other in this country rather than put up more and more barriers to that happening.
Sam, the Queensland Government said that fully vaccinated people couldn't be with their child in the first week of its life. The Queensland Government has said that fully vaccinated people couldn't see their dying relatives. So, should this fully vaccinated Australian be able to go and impress a bunch of people for the Olympics in 2032?
Yeah, look, I don't want to get off on the wrong foot agreeing with Matt Canavan, but I agree with Matt. Of course, I think she should be able to, but similarly, I think the 36,000 other Australians who are stuck overseas waiting to come home should be able to come home. I think the Queensland Government was wrong to ask for further reductions in that number. I think the federal government's been wrong in not allowing as many Australians to come home as want to come home. You know, I'm still old enough to remember a time when citizenship meant that at any time in the day, the week, the month, whatever you want to come home, if you're an Australian citizen, you're able to come home. Sadly, over the last, 2 years, that's no longer the case.